Hello again, I'm attorney Robert Flesses for Robinson Lloyd Career Training Institute. This is part 3 of course number 7 that centers on advertising by licensees. Let's get started. In continuing education courses, we refer to statutory law and administrative rules. I'm going to explain the difference. Statutory law and administrative rules are both sources of legal authority, but they differ in terms of their origin, scope, and purpose. Statutory law refers to laws that are enacted by legislative bodies, such as Congress at the federal level or state legislators at the state level. We talked about that. Statutory laws are written statutes that are formally adopted through a legislative process, which involves proposing, debating, amending, and voting on bills. Once a bill is approved and signed by the relevant authority, it becomes law. Statutory laws are often more general in nature, setting forth broad principles, rights, and obligations that apply to a wide range of situations and individuals. Violation of statutory laws can result in legal consequences, such as fines, penalties, or imprisonment. In this course, we talked about a Wisconsin statute that applies to advertising, right? The statute that controls advertising for licensees is Wisconsin Statute 452.36. Now you're going to see where I'm going with this. Administrative rules, also known as regulations or administrative law, are rules and regulations that are created and enforced by administrative agencies or departments. Administrative rules are derived from the authority granted to administrative agencies through enabling legislation passed by the legislature. The legislation delegates certain rulemaking powers to the agencies. Administrative rules provide specific details, procedures, and requirements that help implement and enforce the broader statutory laws. Administrative agencies have the responsibility to create, interpret, and enforce the administrative rules within their designated area of authority or jurisdiction. Violation of administrative rules can lead to administrative penalties such as fines, license revocation, or administrative hearings. What administrative rule controls advertising that applies to real estate licensees in Wisconsin? Well, that would be REEB 24.04. That rule states that a licensee shall follow the requirements for advertising as specified under Wisconsin Statute 452.136. So this rule told you to go to the statute. In summary, statutory law is created by the legislative branch of government and consists of laws passed by the legislature, while administrative rules are created by administrative agencies to implement and enforce statutory laws within their areas of authority. Here's the comparison between state statutes and state administrative rules. Statutory laws are more general and foundational, while administrative rules are more specific and practical in nature. The statutory laws of Wisconsin that regulate your real estate license are found at chapters 440 through 480. The regulation of real estate salespersons and brokers is overseen by the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services, the DSPS. The administrative rules that govern real estate professionals in the state include the Wisconsin Administrative Code, Chapter REEB, Real Estate Examining Board. This chapter sets forth the rules and regulations established by the Real Estate Examining Board, which is responsible for licensing and regulating real estate professionals in Wisconsin. It covers various aspects of licensure, including education requirements, examination procedures, continuing education, license renewal, and disciplinary action. The rules within Chapter REEB outline the qualifications and responsibilities of real estate salespersons, brokers, and other related licensees. The specific Wisconsin Administrative Code that regulates real estate brokers and salespersons is found at Chapter RL 24, Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons. This chapter provides more detailed regulations and requirements specific to real estate brokers and salespersons in Wisconsin. It covers topics such as license application procedures, license renewal, brokerage relationships, advertising guidelines, record keeping, trust accounts, and real estate transactions. Chapter RL24 also outlines the ethical standards and professional conduct expected of real estate professionals, including duties to clients, fair housing requirements, and handling of earnest money. Wisconsin Administrative Code Chapter RL25, which is Real Estate Education and Research, pertains to the education and training requirements for real estate professionals in Wisconsin. It outlines the approved educational programs, course content, instructor qualifications, and continuing education requirements for license renewal. Chapter RL25 also covers the procedures for approving real estate schools and courses, as well as the rules for real estate research and statistical reporting. To avoid confusion, real estate licensees are regulated by basically three different entities. The Real Estate Examining Board, or REEB, at chapters 11, 12, 15 through 18, and 23 through 25. Administrative procedures promulgated through the Department of Safety and Professional Services, or the DSPS, at SPS 1 through 4, 6 through 9. And the Wisconsin statutes regulate real estate practice at Chapter 452. Now let's talk about the penalties if you violate any of the statutory provisions of Chapter 452 of the Wisconsin statutes. When you look at the statute or any statute that involves penalties, you scroll down the list of topics at the top of the statute first. It has definitions, application of the statute, other things, and then the penalties. In Wisconsin Chapter 452.17, it tells you what penalties you can expect if you violate any provisions of the statute as a real estate licensee. Here's what the statute says. Any person who engages in or follows the business or occupation of, or advertises or holds himself or herself out, or acts temporarily or otherwise as a broker or salesperson in the state without a license under this chapter shall be prosecuted by the district attorney in the county where the violation occurs, or by the attorney general, and may be fined not more than $1,000 or imprisoned not more than 6 months, or both. Now, did you ever visit a fellow real estate agent at a prison? Did you ever go visit someone in prison, period? That's an ugly place that cuts you off from society for a period of time. As an attorney, in my early part of my career, I visited clients that were locked up in places like that. There are a whole bunch of security guards walking around. You go through a bunch of gates as you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the prison area. And you don't sit in your client's cell. You're taken into a room that's locked and you can't get out unless a guard unlocks the door. It's kind of scary. Multiply what it felt like when you were young, when your mother told you to go to your room and stay there until I tell you otherwise. We'll multiply that 100 times and you'll get the picture. So let's get back to the statute, shall we? The statute goes on to say that any person who otherwise violates any provision of this chapter may be fined not more than $1,000, or here we go again, imprisoned for not more than 6 months or both. This penalty applies to anything other than engaging in or advertising yourself or holding yourself out as a broker or a salesperson. Other than that, okay, remember that. The penalty of 6 months in prison and or $1,000 fine would apply then to violating advertising rules in this statute. I don't think any of us even thought this could happen to you. Did you? That's why the statute is making you take continuing education so you know this stuff. What else does the penalty portion of the statute state? Well, it starts talking about what the Real Estate Licensing Board can do to you. It states that if you violate Section 452.14 sub 3 sub JM, the board can, hold it a second, what does 452.14 sub 3 sub JM say? It says that if you intentionally encourage or discourage any person from purchasing or renting real estate in a particular area On the basis of race, then the board can revoke, suspend, or limit your license, or reprimand you if it finds out that you have intentionally encouraged or discouraged any person from purchasing or renting real estate in a particular area on that basis. The board can, for the first offense, suspend your license for not less than 90 days. Or for the second offense, they can revoke your license. And get this, it goes on to say that this penalty may be imposed in addition to any penalty imposed under this chapter. So the way I see this, the worst thing that can happen to you for discouraging someone from buying or renting based upon race is that your license can be revoked and you can go to prison for 6 months and pay a $1,000 fine. So what does this mean? Well, you won't be going out for steak dinners for 6 months at the restaurant of your choice, and you're going to give the state $1,000 from your last commission check. But let's look at the bright side. You'll be eating delicious prison food for 6 months, and you're going to meet a bunch of new people you probably didn't want to meet but for the prison. When you get a 6-month sentence, you usually go to the county jail and sit. I heard from clients that the county jail is worse than prison. And if you want to find out what it's like, then you're going to want to violate these rules, but I don't recommend it. One other little provision states that if your license is revoked, if you want to reinstate, you have to serve your sentence first, then you can reapply to the board, but they won't reinstate you until 5 years expire from the date you were revoked. I guess they mean business. So your advertising must conform to the statute. Did I scare you? I probably did. Make sure your advertising follows the law to the T. I think that this part was one of the scariest of all the parts that you'll hear in my videos. Okay, that's it for part 3 of course number 7. Once you get over all of the penalties that I told you, I'll see you in the next video.